For every year in the last decade, there's been a record number of three-pointers for both makes and attempts. For players and franchises, three-point shooting has went from being a specialty to an absolute necessity. In today's NBA, being able to knock down an open three is required of everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 shooters in the league today. Several things were considered when ranking these players. I looked at everything from three-point field goal attempts, as well as percentage, a player's ability to catch and shoot, the ability to shoot off the dribble, and how efficient a player hits difficult shots from deep. I also considered a player's ability to shoot the mid-range shot, but of course threes are weighed heavier than mid-range shots, both analytically and for this top 10 list. I'm Tricon and this is Unpopular Facts. Before we get started, go ahead and drop a like, hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. We put a lot of work into these videos to ensure that you get high quality and accurate content. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and start out with the honorable mentions. It was hard leaving KD off this list. He's the first honorable mention. It was really hard leaving him off this list. I think in 2017, 2018 Warriors, they were probably the best shooting trio of all time, and that includes TMC of the early 90s. KD, people forget, as great as he is, and I'm not a fan of KD, but as great as he is, he's probably one of the better shooters of all time. I mean, this guy is a sniper, and maybe him being next to the Splash Bros for 3 straight seasons, you can forget that, but make no mistake of it, KD is a sniper from deep. He's only shot 40% from deep 4 times in his 12-year career. He's more of a mid-range guy than anything, and unlike the other guys in this list, he does not need his ability to shoot the ball quite as much as they do. Second honorable mention is going to be Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal's a very good shooter, not great shooter. All 10 guys on this list, and even the next honorable mention, are great shooters. I think Bradley Beal is more of a scorer, than a shooter. He is a good shooter, a competent shooter. But when you look at his attempts and his percentages from deep and mid-range, he does not compare to the rest of the guys on this list. But shout out Bradley Beal, though. 30 points a game. Doing everything he can for that Wizards team. I think he's one of those guys we want to see play somewhere else, because at the moment he is completely wasting his prime. Last honorable mention is going to be Joe Harris. He is a guy that I'm a fan of since his days in Virginia. I thought he was very underrated coming out of that 2014 draft. He's a guy that shot 47% from 3 in 2019, won the 3-point shootout. So he was by far the hardest to leave off of this list, because he's a legit shooter. He can hit from mid-range, hit from 3, decent defender as well. So I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league. I think he's a guy that can average 17, 18 a game. He's averaged 13 the last 2 years. So I mean, I'm very high on Joe Harris, and he was very tough to leave off this list. Coming in at number 10 is going to be Damian Lillard, Dame Time himself. He is the only one on this list and of the honorable mentions to never shoot 40% from deep. He's had a couple seasons where he shot 39%, but I think 40% is where you go from very good to great. Okay, 40% is that threshold where if a guy shoots 40% from deep, he's a guy that you really have to worry about. But part of the reason Damian Lillard has never shot 40% from deep is, of course, the difficulty of shots that he takes. Okay, this is a guy that seems to be getting better with age. Had a career high in scoring this past season in 2020. 28.9 points a game, 7.8 assists. Of course, I'm going to keep it about shooting, but Damian Lillard, I mean, we all remember that shot he hit on Paul George to end the series from deep, and that was his 50th point. I mean, the legend of Damian Lillard continues to grow. He is one of the most clutch players in the league. I think that might have been his second game-winning, series-ending shot. I remember back in, I forgot, it was against the Rockets. I mean, they were up 3-2 in the series, and he hit a go-ahead 3 to end the series. So one of the more clutch players on this list, probably I would say the most clutch player on this list, and that includes KD. Okay, I believe Damian Lillard is the most clutch player on this list. Number 9 is going to be Seth Curry. Of course, he's the lesser Curry brother. Now, he didn't come from the same testicle as Steph Curry, but he still came from Dell Curry's balls, which means shooting is in his DNA. Now, some may make the argument that he's just as good a shooter as Steph. This is a guy that has only shot less than 45% one time in his career. And for that season, he shot 42.5%. So 45% is just supreme from the three-point line. He really has a good looking shot, and every shot that he takes, it looks like it's going in. Even with him being a defensive liability, he's still a guy that you want out there. Just like Steph, the gravity just seems to be different when he's out there because he creates so much space just by him standing on the wing and the defender having to hug him. But like I said, he's a guy you can hide on defense. These days, it's easier to hide guys on defense, which increases a guy like Seth Curry's value. But yeah, number 9. Number 8 is going to be Buddy Hield of the Sacramento Kings. Buddy Hield, he has regressed a little bit from last season. Last season, he averaged 20 points a game, 43% from 3. This year, he's down to 19 a game and just under 40% from 3. And I think that's just due to defenses focusing more on him. The Kings made quite the run in 2019, and a lot of teams are locking in on him. But still, one of the better shooters in the league, a great shooter at that. Right now, he's more shooting than scoring, but to take that next step, he's going to have to go from being more of a scorer than a shooter. I do think he can be Bradley Beal-like if he works at it. Even though he came in the league in 2016 and Bradley Beal came in the league in 2012 and Bradley Beal is still a year younger than him, I still think he should look to be that kind of player. At number 7, we have Davis Bertans. I believe that could be pronounced Davis Bertans. He's a guy that I wish the Spurs would have really kept and just paid. I think we gave DeJounte Murray way too much money. Davis Bertans is a guy that's going crazy right now in Washington. And this is without John Wall, shooting 42% from 3. 200 threes made in 2020 so far. 15 points a game. And you look at his highlights, I mean, he's stepping back from 3, crossing guys on the three-point line. Guy at 6'10" that is, I mean, almost impossible to block his shot. But this is what you want from your power forward in today's NBA. A guy like him that's an absolute sniper. He's going to shoot in your face. Before, he was just a catch and shoot player. Now he's shooting off the dribble, on the fast break, stopping on the dime, hitting threes. I just really wish the Spurs would have paid this guy. At number 6 is going to be Chris Middleton, a guy that's had some injuries this year. Even with nagging injuries this year, 21 points a game, 50% from the field, 42% from 3, and 91% from the line. So I think for the first time in his career, he's going to crack that 50, 40, 90 club, career high in rebounds. He's the guy that they say is going to be the reason why Giannis either stays or leaves in Milwaukee. Nonetheless, Chris Middleton is a guy that was a second-round pick, and to make it to where he is, being one of the best shooters in the league, he's definitely worked for everything that he has, including those all-star appearances. I do think he's a better mid-range shooter than three-point shooter. Even though he is a great three-point shooter, I think he's an even greater mid-range shooter. He's just a very skilled player. I think he is hearing the chatter amongst the media saying that he has to step up in the playoffs, which he does have to. But like I said, career highs across the board in points, rebounds, field goal percentage, and free throw percentage this year, even while being injury riddled. But yeah, Chris Middleton, number 6. Number 5 is going to be Duncan Robinson of the Miami Heat. I do believe Duncan Robinson is the only former Division III player in the NBA right now, nonetheless starter. Just to make it to where he is now, from where he started to starting on an NBA roster, it's just crazy. But 90% from the free throw line, 45% from 3, 47% from the field. He is a guy that his field goal percentage was on the rise. So I think he may be the first player to crack 50, 40, 45, and 90 in his first season. I think he played a year last year for like 3 games in 18 and 19, but just his first real season, first season as a starter, 50, 45, and 90. That is just insane accuracy. And like I said, guys know he can shoot. Opposing teams, they know this guy can shoot the ball, so they're in his face. So he is taking some difficult threes. Okay, guys are getting a handout in his face, but he's knocking them down at a 45% clip from 3. And he's not a guy that leaks out a lot, so he doesn't get a lot of fast break baskets. So this is a guy that all his points are coming from shooting the basketball, and he's doing it at one of the most efficient rates in the league. Now 4 on up was by far the most difficult to rank. Well, 2 through 4 was the most difficult to rank, but number 4 is going to be Klay Thompson. Now I know that's gonna be a little low for a lot of people, but the other 2 ahead of him are better shooters. Klay is a better player than both of them. Okay, for 2 and 3, that's just a spoiler alert there. But Klay Thompson has shot 40% from 3 every season of his 9-year career. A guy, he's not as good as free throw shooter as you may think. Only 82% from the line last season. I don't think he's ever shot 90% from the free throw line in his career. But Klay is unbelievably accurate. Maybe the only guy in history that can average 20, only taking like 2-3 dribbles a game. So Klay Thompson, he is the best 3-and-D player of all time. I think he is the definition of just a supreme 3-and-D player. And the next best 3-and-D player in the league right now might be Danny Green. So I mean, he's the perfect running mate besides Steph. Just to help define that Golden State era. I mean, they would not have won any of those championships without Klay. One of the more underappreciated guys in the league. Underrated defender. He's only made 1 all-defensive team. But like I said, Klay, and even if he wasn't in that system, Klay could fit anywhere in the entire league. Okay, Klay can start on any team in the entire league and fit. He's the only guy that fits everywhere. LeBron does not fit everywhere. Okay, Steph doesn't fit everywhere. Okay, but Klay Thompson fits everywhere, and that's why he's highly coveted. And I think he's a guy that can play. He's 30 now in 2020. I think he can play 8-9 more seasons. Okay, because of the way he shoots the ball. He's not putting a lot on his body. But yeah, Klay Thompson, number 4. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Kyle Korver. That may upset a lot of people, but Kyle Korver, a lot of people forget, he's been doing this for 17 years. I think he and LeBron are the only 3 players left from that 2003 draft class. He was drafted in the 2nd round in that draft, and to play 17 years is just incredible. And you may wonder why he is so high on this list above guys like Klay and Buddy Hield, Chris Middleton. When you talk about just purely shooting the basketball, nothing else, okay? Not scoring, not defense, not moving without the ball. I'm talking about just shooting the basketball. Kyle Korver is still a top 3 shooter in this league. Yeah, with him being 39, he is a defensive liability. He's at one point he was a really good help defender. Okay, he wasn't just a straight defensive liability in his prime, but now with him being up in age, you have to kind of hide him on defense, but he still shoots 42% from deep. Okay, he's actually one of the reasons why the Bucks are happy with Giannis' shooting. Okay, he's helping Giannis with his shot form. Okay, and and you look at Giannis's percentages. I think that's due to Kyle Korver being on his team. This is a great locker room guy. It's the reason why LeBron always wants him on his team. Okay, veterans love playing with Kyle Korver, a guy that comes in, does his job, and goes home. And he's a guy that his game, you can always appreciate it. But yeah, Kyle Korver, probably his last season. But yeah, number 3 on this list, still the 3rd best shooter in this league. At number 2, we got JJ Redick. JJ Redick is a Duke icon. I've been a fan of his since 2002, his freshman season back in 2002, 2003. He was drafted back in 2006 in the lottery. I'm not sure if anybody could have predicted JJ Redick making it this far in 2020, averaging 15 points a game at 35, 36 years old, especially how he started his career. He started his career in Orlando. It was rough, not getting a lot of playing time, but he has carved out a very, very successful career for himself. And when you look at the teams that he's played on some stacked teams like the Clippers back in 2015. I think he played with them for 4 seasons. You would not think JJ Redick's scoring numbers would be that high, but like I said, back in LA, he averaged 15, 16 every single year. The last 2 seasons playing with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, he averaged 17 and 18. Okay, he's one of the more underrated players in our game today. And I think he's an underrated defender. One of those guys that, I mean, he's just supreme in his conditioning. You see the way he moves without the ball. I mean, you have to be in shape at 35, 36 to be able to move without the ball and shoot at the clip that he does. This year, shooting 45% from three. I mean, he shoots a higher percentage from three than he does from the field goal. 90% shooter from the line. One of the best shooters of all time and the second best shooter in today's NBA. Number one should be a no-brainer. The golden boy himself, Steph Curry, is at number one. At this point, I think it's common knowledge that he's the best shooter of all time. He has broken record after record. I think he's going to be the all-time leader in three-point makes. It could be Harden. It could be Harden, the rate that Harden's going at. And with Steph kind of getting injured a lot, okay, it could be Harden that, you know, that breaks Ray Allen's record of three-pointers made. But Steph is undeniably the most accurate shooter of all time. Even if he doesn't top the list in three-pointers made all time, he's the most accurate and best shooter of all time. He's revolutionized the game. Like I said, I don't believe, like I talked about it in the other video, and the Truth About Steph Curry video, I don't think that Steph Curry changed the game like everyone says he did. Reason being is because you look at three-point attempts, they were on the rise anyway, okay? I believe where we are in today's NBA, okay, I believe we would eventually have arrived at this point. Evolution would have brought us to this point, even without Steph, okay? Steph accelerated that. He accelerated the rate of evolution, okay? He was a catalyst in that, but like I said, I think we would be here regardless. This doesn't take away from Steph's greatness. Steph has shot 40% from three every season. I mean, I don't count this season. He shot 25% from three. Okay, he was injured, but I don't count this season. But every season of his career, he shot over 40% from three, including in 2016, his MVP season, one of his MVP seasons. He shot 50% from the field, 45% from three, and 90% from the free throw line. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I think he's the only person to ever make the 50, 45, 90 club. Okay, I mean, his accuracy from deep is just undeniable. Okay, just the deep threes. And Steph Curry is one of those guys, like, you know, I don't think he was supposed to, you know, you look at back at how far he's came. You know, I remember his draft day comparisons. They said a souped up Eddie House. I don't know if you guys remember Eddie House. Okay, I think he went to Arizona, played for the Boston Celtics, won a championship with them in 2008. They said a souped up version of him was what Steph Curry was going to be. But so yeah, Steph Curry has overcame a lot. Best shooter in the league, best shooter of all time. And I don't think it was, you know, a surprise that Steph Curry would be number one here. If you feel I left off anyone off this list, let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as well as hit the notification bell. Helps out more than you may know. Tricon, unpopular facts. Till next time.